Portions of the following program may have been pre-recorded.
The following program's views, claims, or ideas may not reflect those of WSRR Radio or StylesRebelRadio.com.
Welcome once again to another episode of Behind Enemy Lines. This is WSRR Radio. We are nationally local. We are saving the underground music scene. I am Lucas Durazio. It's January 3rd. I am joined by Dom Farrow. And Dom, it's 2025. The new year is underway. The college football playoff is now 8 games into the new 12-team college football playoff. We are on to the semifinal round. All of the underdogs in the second round, the lower seeded teams, maybe not underdogs, but lower seeded teams, advance to the college football semifinal on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and January 2nd. Had a little postponement there. The NFL playoffs are quickly approaching. Week 18 is in our way of catching some NFL playoff football. Really looking forward to that. We'll probably talk about that a little bit today. But Dom, first 8 games of the college football playoff are over. The second round, the bowl game round, the quarterfinal round of the college football playoff is wrapped up. What were your initial takeaways from the second round?
Well, for a while it was looking like that this expanded playoffs was a bad idea. And all these games were blowouts. It really wasn't entertaining. But the longer it's gone on, the better it's gotten. The Arizona State-Texas game was the best one we got. The Rose Bowl definitely didn't live up to expectations. I think that was the one most people were looking forward to the most. And that was a blowout by Ohio State. We'll definitely get into that more because that was exciting for our Cleveland listeners, I'm sure. And then today, Notre Dame taking down Georgia, another upset. So it's looking good so far. I'm excited. I think it's going to get even better. I wish Boise State was more competitive with Penn State. I didn't like all the memes going around about Ashton Genty. They saying he's looking like Eddie Lacy. They're making memes about the guy saying this is what he goes against when he's going against good defenses. They're saying that he's just not the same when he's not playing against teams like Wyoming. I disagree with that. I think he doesn't have as much to work with as a lot of these teams. He's going to be just fine, but I think playoffs have been really good so far. I think it's great that they've added to the game. I'd be interested to see if they could expand it even more, maybe 16 teams.
Well, I think that there's no chance that they expand it anymore just because people have had so many issues so far. I mean, in all honesty, probably 6 of the 8 games thus far have kind of been duds in terms of scoreboard, watching the game. I fully enjoyed watching the Ohio State game because maybe it is because I'm an Ohio State quote unquote fan. But like I thought it was interesting, the number 1 seed who's undefeated, getting upset like that and getting blown out. So I think it was an interesting game. And even in the second half, Oregon cut it to around 2 touchdowns and at some point was kind of in it. Maybe it was 3. It was like 19 points. But I still think that people are complaining preemptively because, like you said, Dom, the further that it's going to go, the better the games are going to get. Like, yeah, that is how football works, guys. Like sometimes there's blowouts in football. You look at the wild card weekend last year in the NFL. Like a lot of those games weren't very good, but the further you get down the road, the better the teams get. The higher quality of football is being played, and the closer, evenly matched those teams are. Like that's the whole point of it. That's why you do a playoff system. So I don't know. I think people are really like early to complain about the college football playoff. And I do think that it's going to keep getting better, like you said. So I think that less and less people are going to start to complain. But like if we didn't have a 12-team college football playoff, we wouldn't have gotten to see a guy like Cam Scatterbo running, rumbling, bumbling, fumbling, bouncing off guys like a marble, against Texas. Like that was awesome. They were down to like two scores. They're down 16. They start coming back. They're just running flea flickers like Scadaboo's chucking it down the field. Yeah. Clearly has not thrown a football in a competitive atmosphere for probably years. I thought that was hilarious, but he got it. He was getting it done. He brought them back in it pretty much single handedly.
It was an electric environment there. Those Arizona State fans showed out, and yeah, Scadaboo was awesome. That play in overtime was one of my favorite that I've seen in college football this year. Just the offensive lineman really helping him out, just pure power over.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was cool to see.
Kind of a David versus Goliath type moment there. It was fun to watch. But yeah, I was really rooting for him there. They had him down there. I think it was like 4th and 13 in overtime. They just need one stop, and 2 straight plays Texas scored. And at that point, it seemed like the odds were heavily against Arizona State, and they ended up losing 39-31. Good game. We're down to 4 teams: Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, and Notre Dame. What is the ideal national championship for you?
Ideal, I think see, the thing is, I don't want either team, Penn State or Notre Dame, to win, really. I don't really like either fan base. I don't like either school, you know what I mean? And it's hard to pick between those two, but I do think Ohio State should beat Texas. Really quick, going back to that Texas-Arizona State game, by the way, like you mentioned, had him in 4th and 13, and like I was thoroughly impressed with Quinn Ewers and his mental capacity to stay chill in that situation. They were bringing a blitz, Arizona State, and he like fully sat back on 4th and 13. Like usually in a player's mind, it's like, all right, this is the one play that coach has been saving. Like they just hyped it up how well they think this is gonna work, whatever. To have the balls, the cojones, to see a blitz coming and 4th and 13, knowing your entire season's on the line, and just being like, oh, hey, check, we got to slide to that, and we're going to run this behind. Like, being able to check a play at that point and, like, stand in there, look off the safety, lay in a perfect ball over the top to your receiver, like, that was a Joe Cool moment to me. Like, that showed, like, he's got it, like, the type of thing that, like, Joe Burrow has, where he's not jumping off the page, like, physically maybe, but, like, he just understands the game, no? Like, the way he dissected that situation really impressed me.
I'd certainly say he moved up draft boards with that throw alone. That was super impressive. Yeah. NFL level, yeah, I couldn't have said better than what you just said. Just super gutsy in that moment. What a throw. What a team they got. I wouldn't mind seeing them win. I know Ohio State, it's not ideal. I'd rather see them taking on Penn State and whooping up on them, but should be a really good matchup between those two. But Ohio State, man, they just were unstoppable, especially in that first half against Oregon. Oregon going into this game 13-0, beating this team earlier in the season. What changed between that first matchup and in the Rose Bowl this weekend?
Well, I think that, like,
this week,
Ohio State, I feel like Ohio State really didn't get, like, they just weren't great coached in that first matchup. And I feel like throughout the year, there was a lot of times where it was like, they don't look like a well-coached team, especially against Michigan. And it, like, really showed that they just kind of got out-toughnessed and, like, 100% out-coached. And I feel like when that happens, a coach kind of has to be like, all right, let's simplify it. What are we not doing? We're not getting the ball to our best player, no matter whether he's a freshman or a senior. So you've seen that in the last 2 games. Like, Jeremiah Smith is getting targets, like, over and over. And he should, because he's not just the best freshman in the country, but the best receiver in the country. And, like, I mean, how many times do we hear it watching the Oregon-Ohio State game? The commentators were like, if he was draft eligible, he'd probably be a first-round guy as a 19-year-old.
Yeah. So
I think that being able to do that was good for Ohio State to kind of have that reality check and be like, all right, we need to get back to the basics and do what we can be good at. Will Howard played really well. But for Oregon, like, you almost feel for Oregon because they played the exact same amount of games as Ohio State coming into this game, because they had a conference championship game and Ohio State didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really get that much of a advantage for being the number 1 seed. Then they had to play at a neutral site. Didn't even get a home game like Ohio State did and a lot of other teams obviously did. So, like, Texas, all the teams that advanced to the second round really never played a road college football playoff game because they were in, neutral sites.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also look at it like they got the bye week, but they had 2 weeks of bye week, and Ohio State and all the other first round teams also got a bye week during the conference championship week, except for maybe Penn State. But, then it's like 2 bye weeks for Oregon. Like, you can get rusty by then. It's hard to keep your mojo for 3.5 weeks when you haven't played and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot working against, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there's because of things like that, there might be some realignment in the playoff, whether they do another home game on a campus for the teams that get byes or what it is. But I wouldn't be surprised because, what advantage really did the 4 bye week teams get besides that they have to play one less game, which obviously is an advantage, but maybe they didn't, some of them might not have even deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe
talking honestly.
Maybe Ohio State threw that game against Michigan. They ended up in a better situation, I think, than if they won that game, had to play in the conference championship. Then you open it up in a neutral site. Instead, you go into it, you get a home game, and you're just as fresh as these other teams. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but doing it against Michigan, that makes me think that they would never do it, but there's a chance.
No, I don't think they threw the game, but I think the way it worked out, it kind of is nice. And also, like I said last week, mentally it's nice for them because it's kind of like we have nothing to lose. We didn't beat. You have 3 goals at Ohio State every year: win the conference championship, beat Michigan, and win a national championship. And it's like, all right, the other 2 we didn't get, so what do we have to lose now? People are already counting us out. Let's just go win the whole effing thing, in the words of Major League. So I think that's kind of the way that they have played and the way that they should play. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the realignment. Dom, I want to go back to Quinn Ewers really quick because, I talked about that. We talked about him jumping up draft boards really quick there after a throw like that and just a performance like that in overtime with your season on the line. Ewers is in a pretty interesting situation, because he has another year of eligibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
He could go to the NFL draft. It's a weak NFL draft class, but even with it being a weak NFL draft class, I feel like he's kind of in the same situation as Drew Allar that we mentioned last week, where if he goes in, he probably isn't a pick until the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round. He's definitely a second-day guy. But he doesn't have the sense of security as Drew Allar because he can't go back because they have Arch Manning sitting on the bench. And everyone's going to be calling for Arch Manning to play whether or not, maybe even if they win a national championship, people are waiting to see Arch Manning, the prodigal son of football that people have been waiting to see since he was a freshman in high school. So he can't really go back to Austin. He probably would have to he would probably have to go into the transfer portal if he stayed in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there are people probably telling him to stay another year in college because he's not a super high draft pick, right? So what do you think he does here? Do you think he just rolls the dice and goes to the draft?
Well, there are a lot of people telling him to enter the portal, and there's a lot of money involved in the portal too. Maybe more money involved than if he were to enter the draft. I think that he'll enter the portal, go somewhere bigger, get over $5 million. I think it's going to make more sense for him than getting drafted in the 4th round, getting, I don't know what it is, $2-3 million a year over the next 4 years. I think it makes sense because going into the season, he was projected as a 1st-round guy. That's a big difference in money. If he can prove himself next year, especially with a different team, and he stays healthy, that shoots him right back up into that 1st-round category, and he's getting paid big bucks, and he's also getting paid the big bucks while he's in college. I think it makes the most sense for him to stay in college another year.
So what if the off chance happens where Buckeye fans, do the earplugs? What if he wins this game this week against the Buckeyes? He goes to the national championship. He wins in the national championship against either Notre Dame or Penn State. But yet he still didn't play well enough to maybe peak draft boards and whatever, and people are still telling him to go back to college. Then does he stay at Texas? It's kind of hard for Coach Sarkisian to say, hey, we're going to move on from you even though you just won us a national championship, right? You kind of can't do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have Arch Manning. Does Arch Manning have to hit the portal then? Like, it is a really interesting, and it's interesting, the landscape of college football because of stuff like that. This is Behind Enemy Lines, 216-859-8699. If you have any advice for Quinn Ewers after this week, or after this year, we'll talk more about this when we get back from the break. Stick with us here on WSRR Radio.
Hi, this is Melissa.
And hey, it's Matt.
Coming at you from Synergy Music Studio.
We are a recording and production studio located on the south side near Chicago.
Check us out online at synergymusicstudio.com. We offer recording, mixing, and mastering.
And follow us on Instagram at Synergy Music Studio. Rock hard.
Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio. We're brought to you by Hellbender Vinyl. Hellbender is Pittsburgh's first and only custom vinyl record pressing plant. That one gets me all the time too, Dom. There's another one. It turns into a tongue twister for me. It's one of America's most trusted record pressing plants. They are perfect for local and independent artists, just like the ones we play here at WSRR Radio, who want to take their album release to the next level. Check out Hellbender Vinyl at hellbendervinyl.com. Dom, we were talking about Quinn Ewers. Do you have a plan for him? Do you think that if he wins the national championship, he has a spot back on the Texas Longhorns in 2025?
No. I think that there's too much money. There's too much pressure. I think it's out of Sarkisian's hand. Arch Manning's going to be the starting quarterback for Texas next year. There's no doubt about it. It's the name. It's the power.
So you think Big Manning has its hands all over Texas?
It carries too much weight. It has to. But
Yeah.
I also think that if Ewers wins a national championship, there's a I have a hard time imagining that he's not shooting up the draft board and he's not first, second, third round type of guy, because that would be super impressive.
See,
the way
that's
he's
what
been
I
playing.
always think, but maybe it is. Maybe it will this year because it's a 12-team playoff, which means you got to win more games to make it. So there's more pressure situations that scouts can see you in. But it always shocks me how little NFL teams seem to care about whether or not they have national championship winners in college, especially at the quarterback position. Like, to me, like Stetson Bennett, for instance, obviously he has, he may or may not be like the best quarterback available or whatever, but like he won a national championship at Georgia. He was in the college football playoff multiple times. Like, he's a winner to me, and I think he was good enough physically to like get it done, but
he wasn't.
I don't know. He hasn't gotten his shot yet.
He wasn't even like the top 15 most important guys on that team.
I don't think that. I'm not saying he should be a starter. I shouldn't have said he hasn't gotten a shot, but like I was still surprised just in the draft. In the draft sequence, that no one wanted to even like think about him in the top 3 rounds. I feel like it was. I don't know when he actually got taken, but like
he was late. Think
about like a guy like Bo Nix or like someone. There's so many teams out there where like it's like they couldn't have taken a chance on Stetson Bennett and let him start a couple games.
He was never that impressive. He's the
really. I thought he was good, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping.
That team was so elite around him. He had so many.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They had a ton of weapons and a great defense.
Great offensive line as well. That team was so good. He was probably the least important member of the starters on that team. I don't think he should have been a top 3 guy. Ewers, the way he's playing, he's the MVP of this team right now. He's shown that he's a leader. He's very important. He showed you that he has the talent too. To me, he's proven the most so far that he's an NFL caliber quarterback in the playoffs so far. And we got guys like Jalen Milroe who are looking awful, like they can barely play in college football, and they're declaring for the draft. I know he doesn't have a chance of extending his college career, but Ewers has to be going up. Teams are desperate for quarterbacks now.
I would. Well, I guess it's not a conversation now because Drew Allar said he's coming back to Penn State. But you mentioned that Quinn Ewers is helping his draft stock the most right now in the playoff. I do think Allar could argue for that. Like, and maybe it's because I told you I haven't watched a ton of Penn State football this year, but the way Drew Allar looked against Boise State, even though it is Boise State's Mountain West team, whatever, they're still a good team. Some of the balls he was throwing, I was like, that's an NFL level throw. I mean, the throw to Tyler Warren in the back of the end zone was the Boise State safety saw it and just kind of realized, like, there's not really much I can do. He just turned around and tried to punch it out of Warren's hands because it was an NFL throw to an NFL tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a very, very impressive connection. And some of the throws he was making, like I said, I was like, all right, maybe I was sleeping on this guy a little bit too much. Maybe he does have some ability and maybe could shoot up draft boards a little bit more next year. I'm not really sure how strong the quarterback draft next year is. Is there anyone that you can think of that? I'm sure there'll be new names.
It's always so early to tell. You never know who's going to be popping up, and there's always new sensations every single year. I think it's way too early to tell.
Yeah, very true. Very true. But
I
don't know. I think that those two would be interesting to see their NFL trajectories.
It's going to be interesting. I think Allar stays. I think if the only way Ewers enters the draft is if he wins the national championship. If not, transfer portal for him. Would have to be my guess.
Which is crazy. It is crazy because he's done so much really for Texas since being there. And, all of a sudden he's going to have to find a new home, which is crazy. Dom, what was I going to say?
Well, I think that the people deserve an update on your fantasy football team.
I don't want to talk about my fantasy
Talk
football
about every
team, to be
week.
honest.
You were telling us last week that it was looking good, that you were going to the championship, and what happened?
We folded. We folded hard. Well, Dom, I got hurt a lot because, like I mentioned last week, I played Cordell Patterson, however you say his first name, on Wednesday night, Christmas Day football.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored me 0.2 points. The next day, I get the notification that J.K. Dobbins, who was on my IR, was being activated off IR. So there's 14 points right there that I didn't get. Jackson Smith-Njigba kills me. He has 4 points on Thursday night in a 3-6 sleeper of a game against the Bears. And this might not be a guy that sounds like someone you would play in a fantasy football championship, but Adam Thielen is on my bench with 25, and something said to me before the game, maybe I should play Adam Thielen. He had a touchdown the week before. He got activated off IR this week. The Panthers kind of have something good rolling. I don't know why. They're kind of just killing their draft stock, but they've been looking decent the last couple weeks and like been in games. And Adam Thielen was a guy who was on the IR for a lot of the year, so he kind of has fresh legs here at the back end. And I was like, maybe I should put in Adam Thielen over Jackson Smith-Njigba, and I didn't, and that cost me 21 points there.
Mm-hmm.
So, long story short, Kyle was our champion. Congratulations to K-Train,
Well done.
his team name. But yeah, it's it's an interesting situation. I don't know where we'll go from here. I was taking a shower after we lost and pretty depressed in the shower, and my fiance was in the bathroom, and I said, Kelly, I lost my fantasy football championship. She said, oh, well, you came in second. That's pretty good. You'll still win some money, right? And I pounded my fist on the shower side, and I went, it was never about the money. I wanted to be part of this league's history. Apparently, they're making a champions group message of all the three people now who have won the fantasy championship, and I wanted to be in that. We talked about doing a lunch of all the fantasy winners.
Wow, that would be nice.
I won't be there.
Maybe next year.
I really wanted to be there.
You got the foundation. You're built for the future.
It's gonna be tough. I'm not built for the future, to be honest. Well, maybe I am. I have some good pieces all around, but
it's always tough getting back to that championship.
It was tough.
When you get there,
it's
it hurts
tough getting
even
back.
more.
I've been there 2 of 3 years now, and I'm like, it's gonna start running out at some point, right? Like, there's no way I can keep going. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can keep making good trades and be under good management. You've helped me a lot, honestly, more than you've known.
Wow.
You're my undercover GM, because sometimes when there's a big trade that I don't know whether or not, I'll send it to you and get your thoughts on it.
I think that
so you're a bigger part in this than you think.
I think that DJ Moore trade panned out pretty well for you in the beginning of the season. And you're going to have a nice
think it did
first-round
overall.
pick as well, right?
Now, the first round pick that I got, I traded away A.J. Brown for DJ Moore. I got DJ Moore in a first round pick. The first round pick that I got is the person that I beat in the playoffs in the first round. So
It's a late one.
I have the first round's 8th and 9th pick. So nothing. It's not like I have like a top pick, but 2 first rounds, that's draft capital. I can
Still
use in
means
the trade
something.
market, hopefully.
I got the 8th pick in my dynasty draft as well, and I'm afraid that Travis Hunter's going to be there. I'm afraid that people are going to be scared to take him.
Yeah.
And I just
And then you're going to feel like you have to.
exactly.
I was thinking the same thing, actually, because I have both of the picks, 8 and 9. I feel like he might be there.
It's like there's just a chance. There's a really strong chance, especially in a super flex league. There's a very strong chance that Travis Hunter's sitting there, and that's just a tough one. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going back and forth in my head every single day. Would I take the guy
I think
because
it
he's so
depends on
special?
who drafts him, almost. It does depend on who drafts him.
Like if they have good cornerbacks?
Yeah, if they have good cornerbacks and bad receivers, like if the Browns took him, I would assume that he would play more receiver because he could help the team more at receiver right now than at DB. But I think he would play both still, maybe. But I do think it depends where he goes. And sometimes a head coach I wouldn't even doubt that a head coach would say, we plan to use him more as this. Because I feel like he's going to have to declare one as his base position almost. No? I mean, just thinking about it like meeting time in the NFL, like there's no chance. There's a chance, but it would be insanely hard to learn both sides of the ball at 2 different positions and immediately play full time in both. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like he's going to have to pick one and then maybe play, I don't know, 15 to 20% of the snaps on the other. I wouldn't doubt that he split some time, but especially not right away. It's gonna be tough
It's
to play at the level he has
It's-
and the amount he has.
It's going to be very interesting to see what team he goes to, because there's a very high likelihood that he's a top 3 pick, and that could be Patriots, Titans, Browns, Giants, Jaguars, Panthers, and to me,
I
all
do
those
think the
teams.
Patriots could take him.
I think Patriots, in my mind, is the favorite to land him. I'm not sure why, but I think they're the team that makes the most sense for him to go to.
I think the Giants have pretty much. They made it seem like they're going to draft Shador. He made it seem that way as well. I'm not sure if you saw that he wore Giants-colored cleats for their bowl game, which they
Yeah.
got smoked by BYU.
But did he wear those during the game, or was it like pre-game? Because I
It may have just been warm-ups, but
think so. But still, it's very strange.
Either way,
you don't see that stuff very
there was a
often.
video that came out. There was a video of him at practice the day prior or something like that saying, because there's always cameras going at Colorado, of course. I think they have like some type of vlog where I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I always see clips of people like almost behind the scenes at Colorado. But Shador Sanders said something like, "Oh, well, we know where we're going. Like you guys will see it in the shoes tomorrow." And then his cleats for the game were red and blue. Giants colors, obviously. Now, I guess that could be Patriots, but I doubt that the Patriots are taking him. They got Drake May. Patriots are also now looking like they're going to be the second pick instead of the first.
I heard a theory. I heard a theory that maybe the Patriots will take Shador Sanders. They'll fire Gerard Mayo as their head coach. They'll trade up and get Travis Hunter. They'll get the whole squad
And then
back.
they'll hire Dion
Yes, and hire Dion. Exactly.
at QB.
Exactly.
I don't know if the Patriots would do it.
I don't know.
Another
They
team
seem
maybe
desperate.
but
Robert Kraft is getting weirder. Robert Kraft gets weirder the older he gets.
that is true. That is
He's
true.
getting a little
I
more
don't know
erratic.
if I feel like maybe they could do that, but I don't know. That would be a little too out there for the NFL. You know what I mean?
It does seem
That would be a little bit too much of
too much like WWE.
Yeah, exactly. It would be too much whereas like college football right now has a little WWE factor almost where it's like, can you believe this storyline
Oh my
right now?
God.
Quinn Ewers, who left high school early to go to Ohio State, transferred to Texas, and now years later is playing Ohio State to go to the national championship. Like, there's a little bit of that storyline arc that happens in college football. Or Deion Sanders somehow got the #1 recruit in the nation to go to an FCS school, Jackson State, and then got him to transfer with him when he got a new job. Like
with his kid
there
as
is that in
the
college
quarterback,
football.
it is insane right now.
Exactly. Like, but I think that's a little too out there for the NFL. I don't think that all that'll happen. That's a bit much, especially for the Patriots, like a traditional team like that. I don't know.
It would be something, but you never know. The NFL, they're always pushing it. They're always trying to be #1 out here.
They are #1 though. That's the thing, is they don't have to push it.
But
like
they're going
that.
for throats. That NBA thing, NBA and NFL and Christmas, saw that the NBA had like their biggest ratings of all time. It's like, yeah, because the people who didn't have Netflix were watching that because they didn't have a choice because football wasn't on. If football was on, NBA wouldn't have had any of those ratings.
Football were the football games were kind of snooze fests.
But they still killed it on Netflix. It was like the biggest, most watched live event on Netflix of all time. So
That doesn't surprise me.
NFL is king. It will always be king. And I think they're going to push it even harder. They're trying to kill the NBA. And they're doing a good job because NBA is unwatchable. Their ratings are poor.
But the NBA Christmas Day is that's like a tradition now. Like
Used to
Christmas
be.
Day.
Used to be until
I don't know.
Goodell
I still
stepped
think
in.
it is a little bit. It is a little bit, right?
I don't know. Goodell's going for throats. He's ending that. He says Christmas is the NFL's now. He's been doing it. They were good matchups. They didn't turn out great, but he's making sure that NFL is owning that day.
And he brought it to a new streaming platform. But hey, NBA did dunk the halls. Did you watch that? The Disney takeover.
Donald Duck crossed him up. Those layups were smooth.
Yeah, Donald Duck dropped 41 points. He was balling. He was balling way harder than Bart was for the Bengals.
I mean, I don't know who those are designed for. Because at first it was like for kids.
I don't either.
At first it was for kids, and I understood it. Now it's like, what grown man is like, yeah, let me watch the Donald Duck.
I gotta watch the Simpsons altcast. I got to.
It's unbelievable.
Like, who's watching that though and being like, they have to do this again? I loved it.
Yeah, please. Do you think we'll ever see another Simpsons allcast?
I don't know.
I'm
I
thinking
think it's
no.
crazy. What if they're? Do you think they'll do other things though? Like, what if they did a Family Guy altcast?
What if they did NFL in Fortnite?
What if they did a Fortnite altcast?
It's
And
possible.
the players knew how to build.
It's possible.
That is actually what they would do if they had a Fortnite altcast. They would make the offensive linemen be like building walls in front of the defensive end.
Oh,
They'd be like,
Saquon just
They'd
drank
be
a
like-
chug jug.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they do. And then he'd jump into the end zone into a gold scar, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, the Fortnite OG touchdown!"
OMG.
They'd be like, they'd have Dan Orlovsky doing the play or the color commentary, and he'd be like, "Now watch this. The left guard here, he's gonna pull out to the right, and he's gonna build a wall in front of the defensive end. That's gonna seal him inside.
He's gonna collect them Maddies.
It's gonna be spectacular." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh no, I wouldn't doubt that something like that happens. Maybe not Fortnite. That's a little.
It's
a bit far fetched, but I don't know. Simpsons.
Has there been a SpongeBob altcast?
Now, they did like the Nickelodeon kid cast. I don't know what they call it.
yeah.
Slime
Okay,
cast?
yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah,
But,
that's right.
And SpongeBob was there. Your boy Spob was there.
Bobby.
But Spob and Rick made their appearances, and they like talked, but they didn't do like an alt cast like that where it was like
That was like that
they've
was the
done with
original
the Toy
one.
Story.
That was like the one for kids.
Yeah.
That was good.
Exactly. But they didn't do it like the Toy Story and the Simpsons one where they made the like players characters, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they would just slime them.
Yeah, exactly. They were just spraying slime on them, and then like it was like Russ out there throwing picks.
Spob was like,
Patrick
"What's
Star was flaming him.
Spob was like, "What's up, slime?" And then they slimed him.
Yeah. Exactly. They were coming in with like Nickelodeon blimps and dropping slime on the field. It was ridiculous. You don't remember this stuff?
I remember it. And they had
And Mitch Trubisky won the MVP, the Nickelodeon Valuable Player.
Yes, I do remember that. It was a good time. I mean, SpongeBob. We talk about him a good amount in this program. That's how I rang it my new year. I was flipping through channels. I was trying to find like the whatever they do, And then I saw SpongeBob. I was like, this
SpongeBob
is
came up.
much better, much more entertaining than the people standing in Times Square in the pouring
And
rain.
Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper getting drunk on that stage while they watch the ball drop.
I do like those guys. I think they're more entertaining than the Ryan Seacrest that show that they do for that. But
I've never watched the Ryan Seacrest one. My favorite New Year's Eve moment from one of those shows was a couple years ago when Gronk came on and Steve Harvey was on too. And they had like a Lego. They had this big like statue of Steve Harvey's head made out of Legos. And Gronk came on doing his typical like, bro, I'm such a stupid football player. And he was like, this is what I call the Lego Steve Harvey head Gronk spike. And he walks up and he smashes the entire thing. And Steve Harvey's all pissed at him. That was the best moment of New Year's Eve in the past like decade. This is Behind Enemy Lines, 216-859-8699. Let us know your favorite New Year's Eve moment. We'll be right back.
So, your friends invited you to their annual Super Bowl party, but you can't remember if that's the sport that's played with the sticks or with the bat. No fear, just break out your trusty sporting event shirt from genericclothes.com. But what's that you say? It's election season and your family has color-coded their entire personality again? Go ahead and play your part as the one true middleman by wearing your ambiguous political statement t-shirt. Yes, for all of your unwanted social interactions, geopolitical statements, or ideologies about the fashion industry in general, genericclothes.com has you covered. Once again, that's genericclothes.com.
Welcome back to WSRR Radio and Behind Enemy Lines, your Cleveland sports show from Pittsburgh. This last segment of the show is brought to you by genericclothes.com. Nobody cares about the details. Get to the point at genericclothes.com. Don't sell out to the big brand clothing empires and their prices. Make a statement at their expense. At blah, blah, blah. At their expense. That's what I'm trying to say, Dom. With genericclothes.com. Dom, you still watching your NBA game over there? I know you were really into the Warriors and Sixers tonight.
Yeah,
right?
I switched it over to SportsCenter because it was just a blowout. The Warriors had like 125 points with 5 minutes left. They're up huge. Awful game. Horrible to watch. Right now, I'm watching a little Missouri, South Carolina women's basketball play on SportsCenter. A little bit more entertaining. Not bad.
Solid. So, Dom, what do you think is the issue with the NBA? Because I know you're out on it and you can't watch it.
I think that there's a lot of issues. I think that the biggest issue is that there's no innovation, and that the innovation that they do is too much. They jumped the shark. They did like this in-season tournament. It was cool the first time. I think they should do it like once every 5 years. Doing it every year, it really, really gets old quick.
Yeah, I will say I didn't see a single thing this year about the in-season tournament until I saw that I think the Bucks won it, right?
I have no clue because it did not garner interest at all. Might be right. Very well could be right. The NBA just kind of a poor product right now. The stars are old. The new stars just aren't quite as good. The teams, there's just not as much cohesion as there used to be. But the innovation just isn't there. And Lucas, I think I came up with a good idea. And you know
what's this? Now wait, I think that real quick before we get to your innovative idea, do you think that the league? You know, I love making like philosophical statements about sports, about the what's the word? The evolution of sport, the evolution of the athlete. I talked a while ago about big guys playing receiver now and like whatever the way that athletes have been raised different. Do you think that the NBA right now isn't as fun to watch because the parity in the NBA of good players being good or, you know, average players being better now than they were back then and there being less of a gap between the worst player and the best player, do you think that makes the NBA like boring to watch? Like basketball as a sport maybe is better to watch when one guy is clearly the best player on the team.
You're saying there's less of a gap now?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. That's interesting to think about.
Maybe I'm wrong. I think that maybe the talent is so spread out in the league that guys who, if they're playing now, if they played 20 years ago, they'd be a star in the league. But they're playing now, and the average talent makes them seem like they're just a nobody. And maybe basketball as a whole is just more fun when it's not as polished almost. Whereas like maybe people like watching football more when it is the best of the best, because then you see bigger hits and stuff like that. Whereas I don't know. Maybe I'm taking a shot in the dark.
That's a good thing to think about, because I do like college basketball a lot, and that is a much more unpolished product. It's because anything can happen. I think that's why I like it a lot more. NBA, literally I'm watching the same thing happening for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's back and forth.
And I feel like every
three-pointers
close
are dunked.
game is almost the same thing.
Free
too,
throws
where
for
like
10 minutes.
Yeah, you're seeing it's like, oh well, the game's over because we're down 6 or like whatever, but there's 1.5 minutes left. Like it's pretty much over unless they miss free throws.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're down 8. They're down 3 possessions with 2 minutes. I don't know. I guess technically it kind of is the same way in football, but it's different. I don't know. I'm just taking a shot in the dark. But anyway, let's hear your innovation.
Now, you know about the
that'll bring more people to watch the NBA.
You know about the G League, right?
I know about the G League, and I love where you're going.
Now, what if I told you, and what if I'm telling you, Mark Cuban, yes, you, I know you're listening, about something I like to call the Gene League.
Come on, Cubes.
It's the Gene League. We get these players to play in
Yes.
jeans. It's going to be
All denim.
restrictive. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be slower.
Awkward.
It's going to be more mid-range shots, and that's what we need. Introduce the Gene League. We need more innovation. We see what Victor Wembanyama is doing in New York City. He's playing chess. He's asking for a NBA chess tournament. Well, we need an NBA Gene tournament. And if that's a success, we need an NBA Gene League, or more specifically, the Gene League. And it may even
Levi's Gene League.
sponsored by Levi. It may even take over the NBA and be the biggest sport in the world. So, Mark Cuban, call the number. You know what it is. And fans, if you're interested and you want to try to fund this thing, 216-859-8699. We won't tell.
Yeah, that's right. Send your money our way so we can buy every NBA player's jeans. Dom, are we thinking skinny jeans or like boot cut loose jeans?
I mean, I think it just depends on the era. We'll let the players decide that. I think it will flow.
Well, right now, what do you
I think right now you're going to see more of a baggy look. In 20 years, they might shift into a tighter, depending. They might think it's more aerodynamic, but right now I think they're going to go for the baggier side, the weight, but I think they're going to feel less restrictive.
But what if we made them wear tighter jeans? Like, what if we could make them? If we could decide, if you could decide the style of jeans, would you go like baggy skater or boot cut or skinny or straight?
Or soaking wet, so they're like 20 pounds.
Yes. I like that's now you're getting my attention.
Now
Sopping
we're
wet
talking.
Gene League.
You need to swim 3 laps in a pool and then play basketball.
Yeah.
And then it's an hour straight.
No, I think there's just
subs.
guys like the equipment staff is just over on the sideline, like taking jeans and dumping them in water, and they have to put on new ones every quarter. New wet jeans just to make sure they're fully sopping.
And in timeouts, you got guys with spray bottles.
Yeah. Yeah. The ref, you can like get a foul if your jeans, you can have a violation if your jeans are
It's like-
too dry. So they have to like make sure they're always wetting them. That's what I like to hear. The court is just slippery as fuck at this point.
You're ejected for your dry ass jeans, boy.
Sorry, your jeans are too dry, sir. This guy's cheating. He just has dark wash jeans. They're not even wet. Oh, he's out of here. That's a 3-game suspension.
You know, like those like jeans that are more like soft, like stretchier fabric. He's got stretchy jeans on.
Jeggings. He's got jeggings on.
It's like
Oh, he can't wear that. Those are athletic fit.
It's a PED. You're indefinitely
That's
suspended.
bullcrap. He's wearing athletic fit from Old Navy. They got this 4-way stretch on their jeans. You can't do that. That's outlawed. That's like pine tar in the jean league.
It's basically like shooting steroids.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
No integrity at all for the league.
Wait, hold on. That guy's wearing non-slip shoes on the wet court too. No, you can't do that. You gotta wear normal basketball
You gotta
shoes
wear
or you're gonna be
Crocs.
falling.
You have to wear Crocs.
Yeah. No, I think Crocs would actually probably have good traction. Better traction than normal basketball
Until
shoes.
they don't. With no socks on.
Okay, well then at that point, why don't we just, instead of making them wear jeans, why don't we just oil up the court and make them play in bare feet?
That would get nutty.
That would pretty much be the same thing, but I do think they have to keep the denim
Then we'd
on,
pretty
actually,
much
now that I say that.
be on the level of the in-season tournament. We can't go too far.
Yeah, true. Do you think that there will ever be a point where the in-season tournament matters? I think they were trying to go for like a European thing where like they have cups where like, but in cups in soccer, like multiple different leagues cross over. That's why cups are fun to watch, because like a team from a lower division can play a team from the Premier League. I think. At least that's what I'm pretty sure happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in any of that European soccer stuff. I think when they introduced that Super League, I know soccer fans were pissed, but that was something I was very interested in. That was something that could have caught my attention. I know there were a lot of people saying, well, they're basically going to get the best teams in the world and put them in one league, so they're actually playing for something. Whereas you're just playing these tournaments, you aren't playing the best teams, and then, like you said, you're playing these tournaments where it's actually fun. You know, when you're crossing over between these leagues. And so the Super League, they're just going to do that. But fans of like smaller teams were like, well, we'd never have a chance of like ever moving up. At least with this, there's like the relegation stuff. We can move up and eventually maybe be one of the best teams. So I kind of get that side of things. But yeah.
So why don't they just get their money up?
Yeah, why don't they get their bread up and be a good team? Or just be like a minor league farm system team. I mean, why does everybody need? They need
to have a cap on it.
Why do we need 350 professional soccer teams in Europe?
I mean, hey, they're drawing crowds.
I guess, but why is every?
I just don't understand why they don't
be like competing.
I don't understand
for the same thing. Am I right?
Yeah, whatever. No, I know what you mean. I don't understand why they don't have a salary cap, because I just feel like it makes it so unfair.
Yeah, man, that
does it not?
That Paris team we're paying Mbappe like $1 billion.
Well, I don't understand. Like, also, if you put a salary cap on, wouldn't it just be more profit for the team? Like, why wouldn't, and for the leagues, like, why wouldn't,
maybe.
Why wouldn't they do that?
There's got to be some reason.
Let's say, excuse me. Let's say one team is paying you $100 and the other team's paying me $200, but both of them get $300 at the end of the year. Then they're only pocketing $100, my team, because they're giving me $200, but your team's. Why wouldn't they just do that? Is that how leagues work? I don't even know. Is that how sports work?
I think you should be an economist for one of these teams.
Well, for the league.
For the league.
Then the league would make more too, right?
You'd think so.
Super league.
I think that money is all like fake, though. It's like.
Isn't all money fake?
Yes, but that's a topic for a different show.
I mean, the moon's a simulation. It's just watching us.
Listen, this machine destroys monopolies. That's what we do here. But really, on this show, we talk more sports. We'll let the other shows handle what is money.
No, we got 2 or 3 minutes left on the show. What do you? Let's talk about your conspiracy theories. What's going on with the drones?
The drones, I haven't heard much about that. I'm over that.
How are your drones doing?
Drones.
Are they still over there?
I have no clue. Haven't heard much about it.
The news cycle goes too quick, man.
I mean, you saw what happened. They postponed the Sugar Bowl, I believe it was. The Notre Dame Georgia game they postponed.
What the hell does that have to do with the drones?
I mean, things just change. I'm just saying things change so quick in the news. People move on to more things.
Oh,
Is what I'm
I
trying
thought
to
you were
say.
saying there was a connection between the two.
Zero connection.
No, but the drones, I feel like were out of the news cycle before yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. Because things just get weird out here.
Things are weird out here. What's your top, if you had to put a bet in right now for the drones, what do you think it's on?
Being a mix of things, but mostly like U.S. drones.
Do you think that maybe the U.S. is putting them out to blame someone so that they can start a war?
No, because I think they would have escalated it to that point already.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they saw how quick it went out of the news cycle, and they were like, oh, man, nobody even cares.
I think they're trying to find something or test something. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but they've stopped now. People are freaked out. Maybe they're just trying to see how
They've stopped,
scared
or
people
we just
get.
stopped talking about it? Are the drones still there or not?
I haven't seen stuff. I think I would have saw it because I was pretty in tune to that for a little bit. But maybe
I thought
Twitter,
you were our drone specialist.
maybe Elon has silenced that.
That's what I mean. I feel like Twitter just passes on from it so much. I feel like Twitter is terrible for news now. I tried to look stuff up about New Orleans yesterday, and I couldn't get anything. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's not as good as it used to be.
So it's really bad.
And I refuse to call it
is
X.
the opposite.
I'll never call it X.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. It's not X. X has sexual connotations, and I'm not
going to
calling
X.com.
a website X.
I'm going to Twitter.com.
Yeah. You told me, if you told me 10 years ago that every single day, multiple times a day, I'd be going on X.com, I would be like, that guy has
I'm
a
out of
problem,
control.
and I think he needs to see a therapist.
Yeah. If you would have told me that 2 years
But now
ago.
it's just Twitter.
Or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know when he got it. Time just moved. I
Stupid.
can't believe it's 2025. 2020 seems like, COVID doesn't seem like it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it is crazy. Well, 2025, stick with us here at Behind Enemy Lines and stick with WSRR. 2025 is the year of independent radio, so be right here to catch it all. Thanks for joining us. We'll join you next week,
Yes, sir.
on Behind Enemy Lines.
Peace.
The preceding program is a StylesRebelRadio.com production.